Not sure which is the best motherboard for the Intel Core i5-12600KF? The i5-12600KF is perhaps one of the best gaming CPUs for budget gamers. It has 6P and 4E cores that are fully unlocked for overclocking. On top of that, it's built on the 12th gen Intel Alder Lake architecture, which puts it in a completely different league of its own. In this video, I'll break down my top 3 motherboard picks for the i5-12600KF. Each one is carefully selected to offer a great mix of features, performance, and value for money. First, we'll look at a budget-friendly option that provides solid performance at an affordable price. Then, I have a premium choice, packed with top-tier features and exceptional performance. Finally, I'll reveal my top pick that strikes the perfect balance between performance, features, and cost. You'll find price information and links to all the motherboards mentioned in the video in the description. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments below. So let's get started. Number 3. ASROCK Z690 Pro RS. Best budget motherboard for Intel Core i5-12600KF. The ASROCK Pro RS is a good-looking motherboard with a focus on performance at a low price. It lacks quite a bit in other areas such as I/O and PCIe expansion, but that's not a bad thing. In fact, it might just be a great thing. ASROCK decided to focus their efforts on the power delivery system of the Pro RS and carefully cut down on other areas. This is a great way to show that sometimes less can be better if done correctly. Basically, it's priced close to B660 and B760 motherboards, but is a better option than getting those boards, especially for unlocked Intel chips. A Z690 board has better voltage and clock speed control, even if you're not getting to overclock the CPU. So, if you're building a low-budget PC looking for the best possible price to performance, the i5-12600KF and the Z690 Pro RS are a killer combo. The power delivery itself is quite unique. It has a rather uncommon 13-phase VRM setup, which is strong enough even for an i9-12900K with a mild overclock of about 5.4 or 5.5 GHz. Even at that speed, the VRM temperature maxes out at 77 degrees Celsius, which is just what we need since anything under 80 degrees Celsius is perfectly acceptable. It performs even better with the 12600KF and lets it run at its full potential with no thermal throttling. RAM support is also quite decent, with 4 DIMM slots that support a total of 128GB of DDR4 RAM. DDR4 is still a great choice for budget gamers and professionals, and this motherboard can support RAM speeds of 5333 MHz with an overclock. However, it would be best to run the RAM at 3600 MHz with all 4 sticks, as anything higher will result in system instability. You can easily snag a 32GB kit for really cheap and be set for a very long time. With performance out of the way, it's time to address my concerns with the Z690 Pro RS. Starting with the port selection, I can say that it's just okay. There isn't much to say, but it's good enough for basic work. There are 2 USB 2.0 Type-A ports that are certainly going to be dedicated to the keyboard and mouse. There are just 4 more USB Type-A ports, 2 of which are running at 3.2 Gen 2 speeds, while the other 2 are running at 3.2 Gen 1 speeds. There is also a 2.5 gigabit Ethernet port on the back, but sadly no Bluetooth or Wi-Fi here. If you want to add them, you'll have to spend a few bucks to get an M2 Wi-Fi key. Other than that, you get HDMI, DisplayPort, PS-2 ports, a BIOS flash button, and a very basic audio jack setup. The rear I/O is very elementary and could have been significantly improved by having even one USB Type-C port and Wi-Fi plus Bluetooth support out of the box. Basically, to overcome the motherboard's shortcomings, you'll need to invest a little more to add ports with the front panel headers. As a side note, there are 3 PCIe 4.0 M2 slots for SSDs and a whopping 8 SATA 3 ports for installing as many drives as your heart desires. There are also some pleasant surprises, though. At the bottom of the board, there are headers to install a Thunderbolt 4 add-in card, which is quite impressive to see in a budget motherboard. Other than that, the motherboard also comes with a GPU anti-sag bracket included, which has become the need of the hour, as graphics cards have become ridiculously large, and this helps save a few extra bucks by not having to get one ourselves. When it comes to the competition, there are very few motherboards in the Z690 lineup that are both affordable and have a great set of features. The closest rival is the MSI Pro Z690A DDR4. It's a good motherboard with a slightly stronger VRM and marginally better rear I/O. However, these minimal changes come at a significantly higher price tag, so it doesn't make the mark for budget Z-series motherboards. At that price range, you're almost entering the territory of premium Z690 motherboards, which is why the ASROCK Z690 Pro RS is in such a strong position due to its low price. All in all, the ASROCK Z690 Pro RS nails the most important and foundational aspects of a high-quality motherboard for running overclocked chips. Although it lacks good I/O options, it makes up for it with a powerful VRM and a sub-$150 price tag that makes it one tough motherboard to beat. Ratings: VRM design, 8 out of 10. Features, 6.5 out of 10. Aesthetics, 7.5 out of 10. Value for money, 9.5 out of 10. For an overall rating of 8 out of 10. Number 2. Asus ROG STRIX Z790H Gaming Wi-Fi. Best premium motherboard for Intel Core i5-12600KF. The Asus ROG STRIX Z790H Gaming Wi-Fi is a powerful motherboard for those looking to build a no-compromises PC on a budget. Starting with the power delivery, it has a 16-phase 80-amp VRM setup, which is enough to power any Intel LGA 1700 CPU. The 12600KF can easily clock to 5.5 GHz with incredibly low VRM temperatures. The strong copper-based heatsink can keep the VRMs under 55 degrees Celsius, even in the harshest environments. Other than the VRM, the Z790H supports RAM speeds of 7,800 megatransfers per second, and you can install a total of 4 DIMMs with up to 192 gigabytes of total system memory. Moving to the more impressive stuff, I must say, the rear I/O is simply stunning, and you can get pretty much everything you could hope for. There are 2 USB 2.0 ports that thankfully free up the rest of the ports from having to host the mouse and keyboard. There are also 2 USB Type-C ports and 6 more USB Type-A ports, which are all running at USB 3.2 or faster speeds. Then there are the BIOS flash and CMOS clear buttons for easy debugging, along with a DisplayPort and HDMI port. For networking, the Z790H has a 2.5 gigabit Ethernet port, Wi-Fi 6E, and Bluetooth 5.3. There's a complete array of audio jacks with optical SPDIF that are connected to the Savitech SV3H 712 amp for top-quality hi-fi audio. It also has 4 PCIe 4.0 M2 slots and 4 SATA 3 ports. I'm glad that this motherboard exclusively uses PCIe Gen 4 slots for SSDs. This way, if you install a PCIe Gen 5.0 SSD in the first slot and use the first PCIe 5.0x16 slot for a graphics card, there'll be no PCI bifurcation. This smart move means that no matter where you install the SSD, you can be sure that it's performing at its best. One cool perk of the PCIe 5.0x16 slot is the quick release button. If you need to remove a GPU from the slot, simply push this button and the GPU will pop right out. This feature should become industry standard by now, but I do understand that the motherboard makers need to add a lot more mechanisms to make it happen. Still, its cool and expensive boards should include this for standing out above the rest. Moving on. While I have nothing but praise for this motherboard, I have some concerns that need to be addressed. Firstly, the Z790H is built on a 6-layer PCB, which is adequate for any type of board for preventing electrical signal isolation. However, since this is a powerful motherboard, it would have greatly benefited with a thicker 8-layered PCB. Another thing that I didn't like at all is how this motherboard looks. Usually looks don't bother me that much, but I really wish Asus toned down the branding all over the rather modest-looking Z790H. Looks aside, the Z790H is a strong contender among many strong contenders. These are the Gigabyte Z790 Aorus Elite AX, MSI Mag Z790 Tomahawk Wi-Fi, and the ASROCK Z790 Steel Legend. Ultimately, the Z790H manages to edge out all of these by not skimping out on any port or button in the rear I/O. The Z790H has what I would consider to be basically a perfect rear I/O, like the MSI Mag Z790 Tomahawk Wi-Fi. However, it's even more balanced since the Z790H has USB 2.0 ports and an ever so slightly stronger VRM. In conclusion, Asus has added a more budget-friendly member to their ever-growing lineup of STRIX motherboards. Just like any of them, the ROG STRIX Z790H is an incredibly powerful motherboard with a lot of sensible options made for it. Looking past the over-the-top design, this is a well-rounded board that suits almost anyone's needs. To sum up, what I like is the top-of-the-line VRM configuration, the excellent rear I/O setup, and the smart PCIe layout. On the downside, awful aesthetics, and the PCB lacks layers. Ratings: VRM design, 9.5 out of 10. Features, 8.5 out of 10. Aesthetics, 6 out of 10. Value for money, 8.5 out of 10. For an overall rating of 8.5 out of 10. Number 1. MSI Mag Z790 Tomahawk Wi-Fi Gaming. Our top choice. The Z790 Tomahawk is part of a series that's known for its reliability and robust power delivery. Thanks to the 16+1+1 phase VRM design, that trend carries on in the Z790 version of the Tomahawk. This power delivery setup is an excellent choice for the Core i5-12600KF and can even handle the flagship 14900K CPU at overclocked settings. One quick glance at the board also reveals that MSI has opted to install sizable VRM heatsinks on this particular board to improve the VRM performance and longevity. The cooling solution for the VRM and the chipset is quite acceptable and doesn't present any problems, even when overclocking. MSI is not the only player in the space, however. The Gigabyte Z790 Aorus Elite AX comes in at roughly the same price as the Tomahawk and can be another option to consider. However, I prefer the Z790 Tomahawk thanks to its superb power delivery system and versatile feature set at this price point. When it comes to features, the Z790 Tomahawk doesn't leave a lot to be desired in this department. I've chosen the DDR4 variant of the board in this roundup, since DDR4 is the more affordable memory type right now. This also helps lower the overall cost of the system, making it a better fit for the i5-12600KF. The overall networking and connectivity features align with what we expect from a modern Z790 motherboard. MSI has gone the extra mile in the storage department, however, and included 4 M2 slots and 7 SATA ports. This is ideal for someone who wants to connect a lot of storage drives to the motherboard, such as in a home server. Aesthetically, the Tomahawk is a bit dull and uninspiring. There's no RGB lighting on the motherboard, and the overall look of the board lacks a bit of personality. MSI has gone with a very stealthy look on this particular motherboard, and it may be a polarizing choice. Still, the all-black look is quite popular nowadays, and it doesn't clash with any PC components, no matter the color or lighting. Of course, the Z790 Tomahawk shines above the rest when it comes to the value proposition. You can also consider the Asus TUF Gaming Z790 Plus at this price point, but the Tomahawk holds superiority over the former thanks to its amazing feature set and robust power delivery. Overall, this board is ideal for those who want a great value-oriented motherboard to pair with the i5-12600KF processor. Ratings: VRM design, 9 out of 10. Features, 8 out of 10. Aesthetics, 7.5 out of 10. Value for money, 9 out of 10. For an overall rating of 8.5 out of 10. So what do you think? Which of these is the best motherboard for you? Or do you think another motherboard is better for the i5-12600KF? Tell us in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Have an awesome day.